بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Insight Audio.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Amma ba'd. We want to discuss al-hubb fillah, loving one another for the pleasure of Allah. Alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullah. The importance of the unity of the Muslims, the harm of differing amongst the Muslims, and this is issue that I personally have discussed many times, and I personally have talked about in various areas in the United Kingdom, Philadelphia and Detroit, because these issues come up all the time wherein shaitan, a'udhu billah, is trying to separate the Muslims, separate those upon the haqq, is trying to damage their brotherhood or their sisterhood. And what we need to understand more than anything else is that after the book of Allah Ta'ala and after the sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and after the minhaj as-salaf as-salih, that akhuwah, Muslim brotherhood or Muslim sisterhood, is our rasmal, is our capital, is our capital. It is one of the greatest blessings that we have. It is something that is expensive. It is something that has great worth. And when you have something that is expensive, something that is of great worth, you guard it, you protect it, you nourish it. And this is something that we have to understand, particularly coming from Jahiliyyah to the Deen of Islam. Jahiliyyah, which as Shaykh al-Islaam Muhammad rahimahullah explained in his book Masail al-Jahiliyyah, the matters of Jahiliyyah, that amongst their matters is that they could not have unity, but rather they felt that unity was something blameworthy, and being separate and distinct and individual in your actions was something praiseworthy. And like it was then, so it is today in most Jahili societies, that individuals say, you do your thing and I do my thing, or you go your way and I go my way. You have your program and I have my program. And they mean by this that every individual is not in any way connected to the other individual. There's nothing that makes me have to be around you if I don't want to be around you. There's nothing that makes me mix with you if I don't want to mix with you. And this type of attitude. These are from the Masail al-Jahiliyyah. It's the matters of Jahiliyyah which we were supposed to have left and that we're supposed to be innocent of now. Allah Ta'ala blessed us with akhuwah, Islamic brotherhood. And that brother who believes in Allah Ta'ala, who believes in the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who believes in the book of Allah, who believes in the angels and the decree, who believes in the last day, who believes in the books of the messengers, that brother who carries Iman is your brother. And there's no stronger bond and no stronger form of brotherhood than that brotherhood of Iman, the brotherhood of faith, the brotherhood of Islam, the brotherhood of Sunnah, the brotherhood of Salafiyah, the brotherhood of Athariyah. There's no greater brotherhood than that, to such a degree that if your father is a kafir, or your brother from blood is a kafir, that your brother upon Islam is closer than them. And your love for your brother in Islam must be over your love for your relatives who are relatives through blood or through kinship, because that is what Allah Ta'ala has ordered. And that is what is the quality of the believers. It's as if we talk about these issues from time to time and then they're just forgotten. When it comes to the practical everyday application of how you practice brotherhood, of how you conserve brotherhood, of how you protect brotherhood, there's none of that going on. The ayat regarding brotherhood are in the book of Allah. And the ahadith regarding brotherhood are in the books of Sunnah. And the narrations regarding how the Salaf related to one another are in the books of Sunnah and the books regarding the lives of the Salaf. But when are we going to take these matters out of the book, inculcate them in our heart, implement them in our lives, and make it a reality? We allow foolish, stupid, ridiculous matters to come in between us and another brother. We forget all the ayat, all the verses of Qur'an, and all the ahadith of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam when it comes to our personal conflict we may have with a brother. Pride comes into play. Dislike for one another comes into play. Past issues that haven't been forgotten or resolved come into play. All types of disrespect comes into play. And before you know it, the brothers are separate. They are separated. They are divided. And they go their own way. And as we just heard in the lecture previous, that every matter or affair that causes division amongst the brothers is a disobedience. Every matter or affair that causes division, that causes differences, that causes disunity between those who are upon Kitab and Sunnah and the Minhaj al-Salaf Salih is a sin. It's ma'asiyah. It's a sin. You're not doing anything good by winning the argument with your brother. You're not doing anything good by turning away from your brother. You're not achieving anything good by disrespecting your brother. You're not achieving any benefit by taking the most important issue we have amongst our human relations as Muslims, which is the brotherhood, and throwing it behind your back and acting as if we acted in Jahiliyyah. Anyone can do that. Anyone can play the fool. Anyone can play into the hands of shaitan. Anyone can do that. It doesn't take men to do that. But it takes real men, mature men, men with wisdom, men with understanding, men with long-range goals and who see the objectives of Islam and the noble aims of Islam to act upon brotherhood and keep the brotherhood intact. It takes women, real women, women who understand the importance of sisterhood, women who understand the importance of these matters, to act and maintain the sisterhood. It's not something easy. It requires some patience. For your brother may do that from time to time which you dislike. Requires patience, sister, for the sister might do something from time to time that you dislike. But do you wipe away this great ni'mah, this great blessing that Allah Ta'ala has given us by acting as if we acted in Jahiliyyah, turning away from one another, disrespecting one another, using harsh words one another, slandering one another, backbiting one another, being suspicious of the intent of one another. All this comes from Jahiliyyah. All of this is supposed to be left. Long time ago, we were supposed to have left these blameworthy qualities and characteristics. This brotherhood is such an issue that, believe me, we will not have any success with this unity. We can't progress with this unity. We can't take a foot forward and place that foot upon firm ground without unity. We are fooling ourselves if we think we can do this without unity. And not unity based upon bid'ah, like the Hizbis, but unity based upon kitab and sunnah where the salaf salih. Unity that keeps in mind the rights that your brother has upon you, and you fulfill those rights. Unity that keeps in mind that the Prophet ﷺ had a piece of parchment in the head of his sword, and written on a piece of parchment, one of the matters that was written upon it was, keep good relations with those who cut you off. You treat good those who may treat you badly. You keep good ties with those who try to cut you off. You spend on those who may not spend on you. Because the brotherhood is not a matter of you scratch my back, I scratch your back. We get a mutual dunyawi, maddiyan, materialistic benefit from this thing. No, since it's based on pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then I will scratch your back whether you scratch mine or not, because I will get an ajr, a reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. And he who wants to taste the sweetness of Iman, as we heard also in a lecture last night, Malik bin Dinar, one of them said, the people of the dunya, the people of the materialistic world, leave this world and they have not tasted the sweetest matter in this world. Amongst the sweetest matters of this world is Iman. And he who has Iman, and he who wants to take the sweetness of Iman, for Iman has a taste, Iman has a sweetness to it, Iman has a halawah, then there are things that are mentioned in the narrations that this individual should do. Amongst them is that he loves a person, and he loves that person only for the sake of Islam, only for the sake of Allah. He loves him not for some benefit he can do for him materialistically. He loves him not because he is related to him family-wise. He loves them not because they came from the same hood, or grew up in the same location, or speak the same language, or have the same complexion. He loves them for Allah. He loves them for the pleasure of Allah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. The servant looks to those matters that will please Allah, and he rushes to do them. He knows those matters that will anger Allah, and he rushes and runs from them. So this hilawa, the sweetness of Iman, if we want it, we have to love our brother. We have to love our brother for the pleasure of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And this is one of the qualities of those 7 that will be under the shade of Allah on a day wherein there is no shade except the shade of Allah. There will be no shade for anyone on that day except the shade provided for specific individuals by Allah ta'ala. And amongst these types of individuals, amongst the group of these individuals, are those who love one another for the sake of Allah ta'ala. For the sake of Allah ta'ala. We've heard this ayah probably 1,000,000 times or 1,000 times. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. and hold all of you together to the rope of Allah. وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, and do not separate. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, and hold all of you together to the rope of Allah. The rope of Allah has been explained as Qur'aan and Sunnah. The rope of Allah has been explained as the Siratul Mustaqim. The rope of Allah has been explained as all of that. Hold all of you together. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ, hold all of you together. All of you together to the rope of Allah. جَمِيعًا, together. وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, don't divide. Don't separate. Don't do those issues that will lead to division or separation. Separation and division doesn't come just out of the sky or out of the blue, as they say. We have to do certain actions that bring about separation. Particularly if there was a companion or a brother, or amongst the sisters there was a sister that you were hanging with, or a sister that you had unity with, or a sister that they came and ate at your house, and you went at their house, and every time you went shopping, they went with you, and there was a strong connection between you, and then suddenly you act as if you don't know one another. Something was done that broke down the brotherhood. Something was done that broke down the sisterhood. We're not going to have any success. You can forget it. You can forget it. We will forever be under the rulership of the Salibis, the Christians. We will forever have the foot of the Yahud upon our neck. We will forever be humiliated and abused by the Hindus, and them tearing down our masajid brick by brick with their hands. We will forever be misused and treated and isolated and humiliated until we have some unity. There is no strength without that. A person is weak by himself, strong with his brothers. A sister is weak by herself, strong with her sisters. We gather strength from one another, from being in proximity to one another, by praying with one another, by sitting with one another, by advising one another, by talking to one another, by counseling one another. This is how we gain strength. And when the sheep, the one lonely sheep, strays away from the flock, the wolves get them. The wolves get them, and they tear them apart. And if they don't kill them, they leave this person within an inch of their lives. And we have seen this. We have seen what this unity has led individuals to take off hijab. Led individuals to go back to what they were on before Allah guided them to Islam. Led individuals to cut their beards, to take off their kufis, to throw away their thobes, and to become once more a shaitan, once more a mushrik, once more a kafir. You don't have to go far. This is a reality. And it is this unity that does it. That for some reason, we don't understand that this is a brotherhood set up by Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, that has rights and has conditions and has limits, that we must stay within these limits to protect it and preserve this brotherhood, or we'll lose it. Or we'll lose it. It demands that we watch what we say. We can't say anything we want to say any way we want to say it and expect that brotherhood will remain. We can't say anything we want to say any way we want to say it and expect that it won't have an effect on the heart of a brother or a sister, or that it won't be something that they will keep inside, that will constantly echo in the back of their mind, and therefore as a result will have an effect on how they treat you or how they view you. Why should we say what we want to say when we have been ordered in Surah Al-Isra, Surah Bani Israel? Tell my servants, the meaning of the verse, to watch what they say, to be careful about what they say, for Shaitan seeks to cause discord between them. Shaitan is haris, concerned, utmost concerned to wait for some word to come out of the mouth of one brother to another to create confusion and discord and distrust and dislike and disdain and hatred between them. He loves this. He loves separation. So he wants to make Shaitan happy, then separate. But he wants to please Allah Ta'ala, then maintain unity. Maintain unity no matter what. Maintain unity even if it costs you from time to time a little of your respect that you believe you have coming. Or time to time it causes you some difficulty, because brotherhood is this important. وَاذْكُرْ نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ, and remember the blessing of Allah upon you. إِن كُنْتُمْ أَعْدَاءً, that you were enemies. إِن كُنْتُمْ أَعْدَاءً, that you were enemies. فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ, then he brought your hearts together. He brought those hearts that were far away, brought those hearts that were strangers to one another, brought those hearts that disliked and hated one another. He brought them together and created harmony amongst them. فَأَصْبَحْتُمْ, you became بِنِعْمَتِهِ إِخْوَانًا, you became by his blessing. By his blessing. No other way could you have achieved it. No amount of money would have done it. Not the fact that you had the same color or nationalism would not have done it. Not the matter that you speak the same language, that would not have done it. Not the fact that you grew up a house apart or in the same neighborhood, that wouldn't have done it. The only thing that has brought this brotherhood is بِنِعْمَتِهِ, the blessing of Allah Ta'ala. بِنِعْمَتِهِ, the blessing of Allah Ta'ala. إِخْوَانًا, he uses the term ni'mah twice. وَاذْكُرْ نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ, remember the blessing of Allah. عَلَيْكُمْ, upon you. إِن كُنْتُمْ أَعْدَاءً, that you are enemies. فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ, and he brought your hearts together. فَأَصْبَحْتُمْ, then you became بِنِعْمَتِهِ, by his blessing, إِخْوَانًا, brothers. Brothers don't mistrust brothers. Brothers don't backbite brothers. Brothers don't slander brothers. Brothers aren't suspicious of brothers. Brothers don't turn their back on brothers. Brothers don't mistreat brothers. Brothers are not unjust to brothers. Brothers are concerned about brothers. Brothers love brothers. Brothers protect brothers. Brothers help brothers. Brothers spend on brothers. Brothers are support of brothers. إخوانا, brothers. بنعمته إخوانا. وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار. Do you remember, Ya Muslim? Do you remember, Ya Abdullahi, when you were upon the edge of the fire? شفا حفرة من النار, on the edge of the fire. فأنقذكم منها, and I pulled you from it. You were pulled from it. كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته. Here's how Allah makes clear his verses, his signs. لعلكم تهتدون, so that you may be guided. These are the words of Allah Ta'ala. The words of Rabbul Alameen, the Lord of our creation, calling us to the fact that we must stick to his book, and we must stick to the sunnah, and we must stick to the Minhaj Salih, but we must do it together. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا, and hold all of you together to the rope of Allah. وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, and do not separate. Don't you ever divide. Don't you ever have differences. Don't turn your back to one another. Don't separate from one another. This is the call of Allah, Al-Wahid Al-Qahhar, to the souls and to the hearts of the believers who believe in His Tawheed and believe that what He has spoken is the truth. You know, with the Sahaba, it was such that just one ayah would change their way. Just one ayah, one verse from Allah, one verse from Qur'aan would change their total direction. It would make their lives different. It would have an impression on their day-to-day lives. It will forever change them. If they heard an ayah telling to spend, and they were the most selfish people on earth, after they heard that ayah, they were the most generous. If they heard an ayah telling them to have mercy, and they were the most harsh and unmerciful people on earth, after they heard that verse, after they heard the words of Allah, they become the most merciful and most kind. Where's our belief in Allah, Tabarak wa Ta'ala? Where's our belief in His verses? Where's our belief in His ayat? Where's our belief in the sunnah of the Messenger, salawatullahi wa sallam alayhi, that we have to hear verses every day, night and day, every year, every month, and it doesn't change us not one iota. But we're on Salafiyah, and we're on a minhaj of Salaf Salih, and we can't maintain this basic relationship of brotherhood or sisterhood. While it's a shame. Khilaf al-shar, differing is evil. How many times do we have to know it? Differing is evil. Look what this unity has done to the Muslims. Open your eyes and look globally at what has happened to the Muslims because they don't have unity. What has happened to the Muslims because they are separate and divided. Open our eyes globally. Our children can be killed in the light of day and viewed by the whole world. Our masajid can be blown up. Our women can be raped. Our women can be raped. People can have gasoline like in India poured on them and set a fire by those Hindus. What they have done to the Muslims in Hind. And you might have a fool say, well, I don't live in India. Well, that's a person out of his mind. That's a person who has not understood that Islamic Brotherhood is worldwide. Islamic Brotherhood is extended to anyone who has borne witness to the fact that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, salawatullahi wa sallam alayhi. Now, if you go somewhere and you find that the Muslims are differing is brought about by sin. Al-khilafu afatu dhunub. Differing is because of sins. If we are on ta'ah, obedience, if we're on istiqamah, uprightness, we wouldn't differ. Qala Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Prophet of Allah said, Kayfa bika ya Abdullah? How will you be, O Abdullah, إذا كنت في وثالة من الناس قد مرجت عهودهم وأمانتهم واختلفوا فصاروا هكذا. He said that you are amongst the people and they've forgotten their promises to one another, and they've forgotten, or they cannot be trusted. Nothing can be entrusted between them. واختلفوا, and they differ. And they become like this, and he moved his shabaka bain asabi, between his fingers. This is very important to understand that he's mentioning it in a blameworthy fashion. وعن أنس مرفوعا ما تواد اثنان في الله. No two individuals تواد, love one another, fillah, for the sake of Allah. ما تواد اثنان في الله. No two individuals love one another for the sake of Allah. This was their habit. They loved one another for the sake of Allah. You saw them together. When this one entered, this one entered. When that one went out, that one went out. They were always together. تواد اثنان في الله. Two of them loving one another for the price of Allah. ثم يفرقون. Then they separate بينهما, between themselves, إلا بذنب يحدثه أحدهما, except for a sin that one of them has committed. There's no two people who love one another for the sake of Allah and then they separate, except that the reason of that separation is that one of them has committed a sin. Other words, there will be no khilaf, there will be no difference, there will be no separation had both of them remained upon obedience to Allah. And if you look at the differences amongst the brothers and the disunity amongst the brothers, or the differences amongst the sisters, or the disunity amongst the sisters, and you were to analyze the reason, you find that someone has went outside the limits. Someone has tried to achieve or get or acquire that which was not their right. Someone said something that was not allowed for them to say. Someone did something that was not allowed for him to or her to do. And this is why disunity came about. And this is why differences came about. These are not my words. These are the words of Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. These are the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. These are the words of the Khalilullah, the friend of Allah, the most closest servant of Allah, salawatullahi wa sallam alayhi. Ma tawad ithnani fillah. No two individuals love one another for the sake of Allah. Thumma yufarriqu baynahuma. Then you find them separate. You don't know the reason. Don't ask. The reason is that someone has done something they was not supposed to do. إِلَّا بِذَنْبٍ يُحْدِثُهُ أَحْدُهُمَا. Except for a sin that one of them has committed. And if you take that hadith and connect it to the marital relationship, the picture becomes clearer and clearer. قال قتادة رحمه Allah says, أهل رحمة الله, the people of the mercy of Allah, أهل السنة, the people of Sunnah. He is calling the people of Sunnah أهل رحمة الله, the people of the mercy of Allah. The mercy of Allah, brothers, is expansive. The mercy of Allah is something that if we were to think about the blessings of it, and we were to think about the evidences of it, and we were to think about the effects of it, we cannot count the mercy of Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. Ahlul rahmatillahi, the people of the mercy of Allah. Ahlul jama'ah are the people who have unity and stick together upon Kitab al-Sunnah wa al-Salaf Salih. Even if they may live in different locations and their bodies therefore are separate. This Salafi might be in China, and that Salafi might be in India, and that Salafi might be in Shishan, and that Salafi might be in Spain, and that Salafi might be in Algeria, and that Salafi might be in Kenya, and that Salafi might be in Mecca, and that Salafi might be in Persia. But they're together. They're together even though they're separate. Ahlul Sunnah, Ahlul Jama'ah are together. Even if they're in different lands, they're together. Wa Ahlul Ma'asiyyati, but the people of disobedience, Ahlul Furqati, are the people of separation. When اجتمع دورهم وأبدانهم, even if they're in the same location and their bodies are together. even if they're in the same location and their bodies are together, the people of sin are separate. As Allah says about the Jews, you consider them one, but their hearts are separate. This is something because Ahl al-Hadith, Ahl al-Sunnah, they have the same Aqidah. And we used to hear from Mashaykh that if the Aqidah is the same, and the Aqidah is sound, and the Aqidah is correct, then the unity will come. So there must be implementation of the Aqidah that we hold in our hearts. And if there's no unity or there's disunity and there's differences, then it's because we are not implementing the Aqidah, the belief that we claim to carry. So it's because of sins. ولهذا كانوا, and because of this, the Sahaba رضي الله عنهم في الحنفية السمحة على عهد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Sahaba on Hanafiya Tawheed and Samha, easiness, in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then he explains that as sins increased, as the Muslim lands expanded, and more sins was there, it had effect on the brotherhood. It has the effect on the brotherhood until the time of the Khilafah or Uthman, and on from there, where the people started to argue about various issues. And if it's this case with the Sahaba, radiyallahu anhum, then what about us? If sins increase, differences will increase. If sins increase, disunity will increase. If sin increase, division will increase. And a lot of the blessings that may have been coming our way, a lot of blessings from the heavens, a lot of matters of good that Allah had in store for us will miss us because of the disunity. What's the evidence for this? The hadith of Laylatul Qadr. خرجت لأخبركم بليلة القدر. Prophet came out one day and said to his companions, خرجت لأخبركم بليلة القدر. I came out to tell you what was the Laylatul Qadr. Exactly what night is the night of Qadr. فَتَلَاهَا رَجُلَانِ. Two men argued, فَرُفِعَتْ, so that knowledge was raised. وَلَعَلَ ذَلِكَ أَنْ يَكُونَ خَيْرًا لَكُمْ. And the fact that you don't know what day it is may be better for you, so you can strive for all those 10 nights of Ramadan. So their arguing made it so that they lost this great blessing of knowing exactly when Laylatul Qadr was. Khilafat, differing is evil. Al-khilafu shar. If you never memorize anything else from the city, al-khilafu shar. The differing is evil. The differing is evil. Division and disunity, arguing and bickering, differing is evil. Ahl Sunnah, they take the principles from Qur'an and Sunnah. So the principles are following Kitab and Sunnah. Ahl Bidah, as we explained earlier, make up their own principles. Then they try to find something in Quran and Sunnah that supports it. We believe and understand that if we return to Kitab and Sunnah and the Aqwal, the statements of Sahaba, we can find that a solution to all our problems. And if we look at Kitab and Sunnah and the Aqwal of Sahaba, the statements of Sahaba, we find that they hated khilaf. They hated differing. And that they understood that unity was the rasmal, the capital, and was unique, and was honorable, and was expensive. So they guarded, and they will keep a keen eye out for any signs of disunity or differing, and they will nip it, as we say, in the bud. They will stop the fire before it got started. They will stop any form of disunity before it got started. Any form of disagreement or differing, they will stop it in its tracks. And this is how we have to be. We have to be hurasa, if the sahal tahbir. We have to be guards, guarding the unity, making sure that each of us is guarding or protecting a part of the Islamic Brotherhood. And that if it's going to be attacked, or if it's going to be compromised, it won't be from his direction, because he's on point. He's watching. He's guarding. He's making sure that the brotherhood is secure. And this is how the believers are supposed to be. Not differing means you're under the mercy of Allah. Differing means that you're not under the mercy of Allah. I'll say it again. The fact of having unity and not differing means that you're under the rahmah of Allah, and Allah has had mercy upon us. Differing, separating, dividing means that we're not under the mercy of Allah. The evidence is the statement of Allah in Surah Hud 118, 119. وَلَا يَزَالُونَ مُخْتَلِفِينَ, and they will always remain forever differing. إِلَّا مَنْ رَحِمَ رَبُّكَ, except those who your Lord has had mercy upon. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, that great Khalifa, rahimahullah, said, خَلَقَ أَهْلُ رَحْمَتِهِ, Allah created the people of His mercy. خَلَقَ أَهْلُ رَحْمَتِهِ, Allah created the people of His mercy. لَعَلَّا يَخْتَلِفُوا, so that they would not differ. If you are the people of Kitab and Sunnah and the Minhaj al-Salih, if you are the people of the Book of Allah Ta'ala and the Sunnah and the Masjid Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, if you are the people of Jama'ah, unity and gathering and harmony and coming together, if you are the people of the rahmah, of the mercy of Allah, Allah has created those people لِأَلَّا يَخْتَلِفُوا, so that they don't differ. And this is not talking about the differences maybe in fiqh, because that's called ikhtilaf and tanawwu, differences of type. This brother want to say, do this istiftah with the narration of Abdul Mas'ud. This one want to do it with another narration that's authentic. Then no problem. This brother, the fatwa regarding eating the meat of the Christian and Jews have come to him, and the evidence of that, he believes it's permissible. This brother's other fatwa have come to him, and evidence of that, and he believes it's not permissible. No problem. The differing that we're talking about, I think everyone is crystal clear on what we're talking about. Crystal clear on what we're talking about. Arguing, bickering, differing, mistrust, su'udan, suspicion and bad thoughts about one another based upon foolishness. Based upon foolishness. We ought to be more mature than that. We ought to be more righteous than that. We ought to be more intelligent than that. We ought to be more kind than that. We ought to be more gentle than that. We ought to be more understanding than that. We ought to have higher goals and objectives than that. Than making these issues and creating bitter feuds between our brothers. This is a matter of insanity. To have been blessed with the Book of Allah, mahfuz, protected, the actual words of Allah. No falsehood can come from before it or behind it. Nothing can be added to it or taken away. The actual words of Allah. And to have the Sunnah of Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam protected on our shelves, in our houses. And to have the implementation of the Sahaba regarding this issue. And they have scholars who can tell us its meanings, and we still acting like we somewhere upon Bourbon Street with a process in our hair upon Jahiliyyah. It's much known. It's insanity. It's insanity. And we ought to be ashamed of ourselves. Abu Muhammad Ibn Hazm said, فَاسْتَثْنَى تَعَالَى مَنْ رَحِمَ مِنْ جُمْلَةِ الْمُخْتَلِفِينَ. Allah has given exception to those people who we have mercy on, and they are the ones who aren't differing. وَخَرَجَ الْمَرْحُومِينَ مِنْ جُمْلَةِ الْمُخْتَلِفِينَ. Or whether he has said that those, a better way of saying it, that those who differ are not part of his mercy. And he said those who are part of his mercy or under his mercy are those who don't differ. Ash-Shatibi, which we took some from his book, Al-Islaam, Ash-Shatibi, in al-ayatah, this verse dictates that Ahl al-Ikhtilaf al-Mafkuri, those people who differ that have been mentioned, Mubayyinun li Ahl al-Rahmah, they are far away from the people of mercy. Based on the statement of Allah, وَلَا يَزَالُونَ مُخْتَلِفِينَ إِلَّا مَنْ رَحِمَ رَبُّكَ. And they will continue to differ except those who your Lord has mercy upon them. So therefore there is two distinct groups here. There is two distinct categories. Ahl al-Ikhtilaf, the people who differ, the people who divide, the people who separate, the people who have disunity. That's all they do. Night and day they differ. Night and day they have disunity. Night and day they separate. You find them over here separating. Just like when they were in the Masajid of Ahl Bidah, they separated. 20 years ago, they used to separate. 30 years from now, they may still separate. They are people of ikhtilaf. The second group is marhumeen, those who Allah has had mercy upon. Those who Allah Ta'ala has had mercy upon. And they are those who are in agreement with the book of Allah Ta'ala and the Sunnah of the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the methodology of the Minhaj of the Salaf al-Salih. Ibn Wahab says, سمعت مالكا. I heard Imam Malik, Imam Dar al-Hijrah, rahimahullah. I heard him say, regarding this verse, Surah Hud, verse 118 to 119. I heard him say regarding this, الَّذِينَ. See? Before I mention the statement of Ibn Wahab regarding Malik, we'll continue it. He said, when Shatibi said there are two groups or two distinct separate groups, the people of Khilaf and the people of mercy, he said, what is apparent is that these are two branches, two separate branches. In other words, two separate groups, I should say. And Ahl al-Rahmat, the people of mercy, لَيْسُ مِنْ أَهْلِ الْإِخْتِلَافِ. They're not from the people of differing. Because if they were from the people of differing, then they wouldn't be from the people of mercy. They wouldn't be from the people of mercy. And there would be no reason to say, إِلَّا مَنْ رَحِمَ رَبُّكَ, except those who your Lord has mercy upon. Ibn Wahab said, I heard Malik rahimahullah, Imam Dar al-Hijrah, say about this verse, الَّذِينَ رَحِمَهُمُ اللَّهِ, those who Allah have mercy upon, لَمْ يَخْتَلِفُوا, they did not differ. They do not differ. لَمْ يَخْتَلِفُوا. وقال شيخ الإسلام, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah said, قال تعالى, Allah Ta'ala said, وَلَا يَزَالُونَ مُخْتَلِفِينَ, and they will always be in a condition of differing. إِلَّا مَنْ رَحِمَ رَبُّكَ, except those who your Lord have mercy upon. وَلِذَلِكَ خَلَقَهُمْ, and for that purpose I created them. فَأَخْبَرَ أَنَّ أَهْلَ الرَّحْمَةِ, so he informs us that the people of his mercy, لَا يَخْتَلِفُونَ, they don't differ. وَأَهْلُ الرَّحْمَةِ, and those people of his mercy, who are they? Who are the people of his mercy? Hum atba'ul anbiya'i, they are those who follow the prophets of Allah. Qawlan wa fi'lan, in their statements and in their actions. Wahum ahlul Qur'an, they are the people of Qur'an. Wal hadith, the people of hadith, min hadhi ummah, from this ummah. فَمَنْ خَالَفَهُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ, whoever differs with them in anything. The followers of the Anbiya in statement and action, the people of Qur'an and Sunnah, the people on the way of Minhaj al-Salaf, whoever differs with them in anything, فَأَتُوهُ مِنْ رَحْمَتِهِ بِقَدْرِ ذَلِكَ, he will miss as much of the mercy of Allah as to the degree or to the amount that he differs with them. The measurement of the mercy of Allah that he will miss is in accordance with the amount or the degree to which he differs with him. And this is something that Ibn Taymiyyah said, Intaha Kalam Ibn Taymiyyah. وقال أيضا, he also has more statement here, another statement. خَلَقَ قَوْمًا لِاخْتِلَافٍ, Allah created some people for differing. وَقَوْمًا لِرَحْمَةٍ, and some people for mercy. وَقَوْمًا لِرَحْمَةٍ, and some people for mercy. Ibn Abi Izz al-Hanafi, the explainer of Aqeedah Tahawiyah, he has made Ahlul Rahmah mustaqdayna min khilaf. He has made the people of mercy an exception to the matter, or exception to the rule of differing. They don't differ. They don't differ. So if we want to be, and we want to prove, and we want to show, and we want it to be known by everyone close and everyone far, that we are in fact upon Kitab and Sunnah and Fahm Salaf Salih, Kitab and Sunnah and Methadal Salaf Salih, then we must have rahmah between one another, and we must not differ. We must have mercy, and we must not differ. Alaykum as-salam. وَقَالَ تَعَالَى, Allah stated, and this is Al Imran verse 105. وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ تَفَرَّقُوا وَاخْتَلَفُوا مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَهُمُ الْبَيِّنَاتُ وَأُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. And do not be like those who separated and differed after the clarification has come to them. And these are they for them, or they are those for them, is a severe punishment. Is a severe punishment. Most of us doesn't think when we read this ayah, is as if we didn't see the verse, لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. For them it's a severe punishment. وَلَا تَكُونُوا, don't you be like كَالَّذِينَ تَفَرَّقُوا, those who separated, وَاخْتَلَفُوا, and differed, مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَهُمُ الْبَيِّنَاتِ, after the haqq came to them, after the truth came to them, after Kitab and Sunnah came to them, after that the reality of this deen, that which Allah sent down from the heavens came to them, those who differ after that, لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ, they have a severe punishment coming. قال المزني رحمه الله فذم الله الاختلاف. Here Allah has mentioned in blameworthy fashion differing. وأمر عنده بالرجوع إلى الكتاب والسنة, and ordered us that when we have a difference, that we take it back to the book and the Sunnah. فَلَوْ كَانَ اخْتِلَافٍ مِنْ دِينِهِ مَا ذَمَّهُ. If differing was from the deen of Allah, He wouldn't have mentioned it in a blameworthy fashion. He wouldn't have criticized it. He wouldn't have threatened the punishment for it. وَلَوْ كَانَ التَّنَازُعُ مِنْ حُكْمِهِ ما أمرهم بالرجوع عنده إلى كتاب السنة. And if arguing was something okay, he would not have ordered them to go back to the Kitab al-Sunnah to clear it up. If it was something okay to do, to argue, he would let us argue forever. Not order us to, when you argue, stop it and take it to the book of Allah and the Sunnah and judge by that. So this proves that ikhtilaf, differing, is not from the deen of Allah, and arguing is not from the deen of Allah. And this is one of those matters that protect our brotherhood also. The absence of mirah, or khusuma, or jidal. The absence of arguing and quarreling and bickering. Bickering and quarreling and fussing like some old man that don't know nothing about the deen of Allah Ta'ala. That just runs his mouth constantly. This is important to understand that this is not from the deen of Allah Ta'ala. The Prophet ﷺ promises a house in the Sitta of Jannah, the Sitta of paradise, for he wants real estate in paradise. In the Sitta of paradise for the one who leaves arguing even if they're right. Just hold the tongue. We act as if this is impossible. Or that by holding the tongue we're going to belittle ourselves. Or that if we don't make our point, the dunya won't exist in the next minute or two. It is not that important. And here the Prophet said, even if you're right. And many of us argue when we're wrong. But he said, even if you're right, you leave it. For a house in the Jannah. And not any part of the Jannah, but particular land, a particular site in the Jannah. Abi Tha'laba al-Khushani radiyallahu anhu qala said, this is hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and you've heard it. You know how many times you heard it. I'm not going to say how many times. You know how many times you heard this hadith. Kana nasu, the people, إِذَا نَزَلُوا مَنْزِلًا, if they would come down and after traveling from a place, or go to a place, manzilan, tafarraku fi shi'ab al-awdiyah, they sit in the valley, they would separate. This one would naturally sit with this brother, he wants to talk with this one. This one would sit with this one, he wants to talk with that one. فَقَالَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ, Messenger of Allah said, إِنَّ تَفَرُّقٌ فِي هَذِهِ الشِّعَابِ وَالْأَوْدِيَةِ, very a separation in these places, in these valleys, and things of this nature. That you come from a place and you sit down, this one group sit here, this group sit there, those three brothers there, those three brothers there. He said, you're sitting like this separation. إِنَّمَا ذَلِكُ مِنْ شَيْطَانٍ, verily that is from shaitan. فَلَمْ يَنْزِلُوا بَعْدْ مَنْزِلًا, they did not after that come to a place and sit. إِلَا انضَمَّ بَعْضُهُمْ إِلَى بَعْضٍ, and to such that they would sit so close to one another. Some narrations said so close that if you were to take one garment, you could place it over them. فَانظُرْ, look, كَيْفَ نَصَبَ النَّبِيُّ صلى الله عليه وسلم, how the Prophet ﷺ took this separation of Sahaba in one place when it's only apparent separation. It's only apparent separation. The Sahaba didn't differ in belief. The Sahaba didn't differ in their iman, in kitab and sunnah, and the way of salaf salih. It was only apparent from their physical bodies that one wanted to sit here and one wanted to sit there. So they were separate physically, while inside there was ihtilaf. Inside they were on one belief. Inside they were upon one deen. Inside they were upon one understanding. Even though that was the case, based on the statement of Allah, وَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِهِمْ, and Allah gathered or made harmony between their hearts. This separation physically, the Prophet ﷺ ascribed it to shaitan. وَحَسْبُكَ بِفِعْلٍ أُضِيفَ إِلَى شَيْطَانٍ, and enough for an action to be evil that is ascribed to shaitan. فَإِنَّهُ لَا يَأْمُرُ إِلَّا بِالسُّوءِ, because shaitan doesn't order except that which is evil. وَالْفَحْشَاءِ, filthy. وَالْمُنْكَرِ, evil doing. Now listen to the point that he's making here. If people who have the same belief, people who have the same understanding, people who Allah Ta'ala has confirmed that He has brought their hearts together, that their physical separation, the Prophet ﷺ disliked, and he ascribed to action that they were physically separated, even though inwardly they was on the same belief, and inwardly they had harmony. And he called that action of separating shaitan from shaitan. What about those individuals who inwardly also they are differing? Inwardly also they have disharmony. Inwardly also they have separation. Inwardly also they have disunity. And like we started, Ibn Mas'ud said, Al-Khilafu Shar. Al-Khilafu Shar. Differing is evil. Brothers, there's no good that's going to come from it. Sisters, there's no good that's going to come from it. Differing is evil. It will weaken our iman. It will weaken our ibadah. It will weaken our community. It will weaken us. وقال علي بن طالب رضي الله عنه, in a matter that was brought to him, he said, judge like you used to judge. And he's Khalifa now. But he tells the people what? Judge like you used to judge. Whatever you used to judge, whatever was used to be the judgment in this matter, judge like you used to judge. And then he gave the reason, al-Islaam. فَإِنِّي أَكْرَهُ اخْتِلَافٍ, because I hate disagreement. Because I hate differing. Judge like you used to judge, because I hate differing, so that the people, judge like you judge, so the people can yakun anas jama'ah, so the people can be together. Or amutu kama amata ashabi, or until I die, or leave your differing, and at least until I die, like my two companions died. Like my companions died, meaning the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba. Always don't have this disunity while I'm amongst you. Judge like you used to judge, for I hate differing and arguing, bickering, so that the people can be at jama'ah, or amut kama amata ashabi, or until I die like my companions died. Then, if you're going to have all that disunity, go ahead. I won't have to witness it. Or however he meant it, radiallahu anhu. قال أبو جعفر الطحاوي says, نرى الجماعة حقا وصوابا. We see that al-jama'ah, being together with the jama'ah upon kitab sunnah salih, haqqan wa sawaban, is the truth and is correct. وَالْفُرْقَةَ زَيْغًا وَعَذَابًا, and separation is going astray and punishment. Separation is deviation and punishment. And Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said, فَإِنَّ الْجَمَاعَ رَحْمَةً. It's a hadith about this also. فَإِنَّ الْجَمَاعَ رَحْمَةً. The jama'ah, being together, gathering together, being together is the mercy. وَالْفُرْقَةَ عَذَابٌ, and separation is punishment. And separation is misery. And separation is punishment. So this is something that must be understood. And we understood that it is Ahl Bid'ah who differ. Ahl Sunnah, Ahl Rahmah are not supposed to differ. They say the Sunnah is maqroonah, is coupled with Jama'ah, will be together. And Bid'ah is maqroonah, is coupled with separation. قال تعالى, Allah the Exalted stated, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ وَكَانُوا شِيَعًا. 159 Al-An'am, verily those who separated their deen and became groups. Al-Baghawi said, they are Ahl Bid'ah wa Ahl Ahwa, the people of desires. And Ibn Mubarak said, Ahl al-Haq laysa fihim ikhtilaf. The people of truth, they don't differ. وقال Shatibi said, one of the most specific qualities of people of Bid'ah, one of their most specific and one of their most qualities that they're known for, and most evil of their qualities, is that they differ. And I'll end with that statement of Ibn Taymiyyah. Shaykh Islam Ibn Taymiyyah says, "Well, bid'atu maqrunatun bil furqah," and bid'ah is always brought or coupled with separation. Kama anna sunnata maqrunatun bil jama'ah, just like the sunnah is always brought or coupled with al-jama'ah, togetherness, being one group. فَيُقَالُ, and that's why you say أَهْلُ السُّنَّةِ وَالْجَمَاعَةِ, the people of sunnah and those who have gathered upon it, the jama'ah. Kama yuqal, like you say, أَهْلُ الْبِدْعَةِ وَالْفُرْقَةِ, the people of innovation and separation. So this is the point. Do we want to be Ahl Sunnah or we want to be Ahl Bid'ah? Do we want to have the actions and behavior of the people of Sunnah or the actions and behavior of the people of Bid'ah, the people of innovation, and the people of Jahiliyyah? We have to understand that unless we're Safun Wahid, one rank, Bunyan and Marsus, a building, one body, as the Prophet ﷺ said in authentic hadith, believer in regards to the emotional ties and their love for one another is like one body. The believer are like one building. This one supports that one. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum, the Tabi'een, the Tabi'een, and throughout the centuries, this brother that has been practiced. Is there something different or distinct about us that we can't practice this? Are we somehow in physical bodies different from the physical bodies of all those Muslims who have preceded us? Do we breathe in another type of air? Do we exist on another planet? We are physically just like they were. And by grace of Allah, we have the same deen they had. Well, one mark, very distinct difference. They acted upon their deen, and we're not doing that. They acted upon these ayat and these ahadith, and we are not doing that. And if we keep on like this, we can expect a fitna. If we keep on like this, that fitna that is far away from us, that we might see in a magazine or might hear on the news, will be at our heels next, and it'll be too late. Too late to practice unity. Too late to implement these issues. And we won't be able to help or protect or do anything for the ummah unless and until we have this unity. Unless and until we have this unity, we have to get in our head somehow that arguing, bickering, saying anything you want to say, fake, plastic machoism, trying to act like you're a man and having differences with your brother makes you a man, while it makes you a shaitan. It makes you like the people of Jahiliyyah. It makes you like the people of innovation. There's no benefit of it. You will destroy yourself. It is a matter of destroying our houses with our own hands. Destroying our masajid with our own hands. What are the use of starting a masjid, being up on Kitab al-Sunnah and where it's Salih, having salat in it 5 times a day, and Jummah, building it, and then we're going to tear it down with our own petty, filthy, childish hands. No kafir has to come in between us. No Yahudi, Nasrani, Majusi, no Jahmi, no Khariji of Ahlul Bidah, no Shi'i, no Rafidi has to come in between us. We'll do it ourselves. Get out my way. I'll tear this up myself. I'm an enemy to myself to such a degree that I can't be trusted to carry the responsibility of relaying or conveying Islam to the people. Destroyed myself based on petty individual reasons, not based on minhaj, not based on aqidah, not based on any of this, based upon what shaitan whispers to me and what my desires want. I'm ready to destroy everything at all costs. When do we get in our head that separation is from the matters of Jahiliyyah, and we're no longer, alhamdulillah, in Jahiliyyah? When we get in our head that separation of the qualities of the people of Bid'ah, and we're not part of the people of Bid'ah and don't want anything of their characteristics. These are the things that have to be realized and implemented. This is a thing that each individual has to deal with oneself. Everyone knows their faults. As Allah Ta'ala says, the man is born himself, basira. He sees himself. Even if he throws out excuses, he knows that sometimes he shouldn't say the things he says. He knows that sometimes he shouldn't behave like he behaved. And he knows that there's going to be, for every action, there's a reaction that's in the same amount and in the same measurement. So that if he acts a certain way towards his brothers, he's going to get something coming back that's not going to be nice. So it's important that we all stay within the hududillah, the limits set by Allah, and we give supremacy to brotherhood over our nafs and our desires. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وجزاكم الله خير. If في سؤال or shay, if there's questions or anything, if the sisters have questions, they can send them over. If any brother has questions, we can take them from the floor. If not, we can close, inshallah. Faddal. There's nothing in my statements that restricts you from meeting new brothers. As a matter of fact, I would welcome that. I mean, brotherhood is practiced with every Muslim. I mean, brother. When I say brotherhood, when I was talking about those who knew one another, I mean, those individuals should not have much difference between themselves. And as far as meeting someone new, that's something good. That's what you seek to do. Muslims seek to meet one another, come together and pray, read Qur'aan, study Deen, and trade in books. Let a brother borrow a book, you borrow a book, listen to a tape. And there's nothing in what I said that will restrict that. As a matter of fact, if you understood the full implementation or the full indication of what I said, you would rush to make any connection with all your brothers. Well, salam is the first thing. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, you will not enter paradise. Nobody into paradise except a believer. None of you will enter paradise until you are believers, and you will not be believers until you love one another. Shall I tell you about that which will create love of one another? Spread the salam between you. So giving them salam, inviting them to eat, inviting them to come to classes. This is the way the etiquette of brotherhood is. And there are some whole subjects of books written on brotherhood and etiquettes of brotherhood. I'm sure if the Imam of the Masjid is asked, he will go through one of them and go into the adab and the manners of brotherhood. This is something good, particularly if one doesn't know how one should act. Then this is very good to start with someone teaching the etiquette. And this is why the scholars have written those books. People to learn how to act and behave with one another. Particularly if you come from Jahiliyyah and you've never experienced anything as beautiful as Islam of the brotherhood of Islam. It's a good matter to become acquainted with how you have proper brotherhood. So you do all of this for what purpose? Why do you do all this? Go to the side, don't intermingle, color. Why you do all this? Or if you stay together, you don't mix with the kafirs, then it's no problem, inshallah. As long as you do it like that, lower your gaze and stay. I mean, you're talking about basketball in the gym, full of people, and you're a group of Muslims on their side here. Just, there's nothing wrong with that, inshallah. Wallahu a'lam. Khalasna. Hey, sure. Wait, back up. I didn't hear you. Understand? They say we can't differ. Yeah, but the ayah says tanaza'u, which is if you differ, return back to Kitab wa Sunnah. So the fact that there's differences, you take it back to Qur'an and Sunnah. There's a difference between what we explained, the ikhtilaf, where some person has a different aqeedah, different minhaj, different belief, different everything. There's someone who has a different viewpoint you have based upon evidences that you take back to Qur'an and Sunnah. And that's what the scholars' difference is. And that's why the ayah is there. If you differ, فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. What's the meaning of the ayah? What is the purpose of it? They're going to be differing. Khilaf is something kauni, it's universally decreed. But the way to deal with the tanasa or the disagreement or arguing is to take it back to Kitab and Sunnah. In Kitab and Sunnah you find a solution. So all those scholars, we take their statements back to Kitab and Sunnah. And this is asking me to stress once again, those who say we want for our brothers, we want for ourselves, that and to keep, to be aware of the physical or mental conditions of our brothers and our sisters, and so that we can help them. And this will give a person a great reward in the hereafter, there's no doubt. And those individuals who, al-Mutabadirina fiyya, as the hadith says, those who spit for my cause and visit for my cause, help one another for my cause, they will be upon any positions of manadir, positions of high positions in the Jannah. They will be called and placed upon high thrones or couches, if you will, or whatever, in the hereafter. Those who spend and visit one another and are concerned about their brothers and their sisters in general. This concern should be there. This concern should be there. Now, Fadl.
How far should it issue?
Yeah. If your brother transgresses against you or in some way argues with you, then you go as far as you're able. Allah doesn't place a burden on a soul that it cannot bear. Then, you seek to resolve things before they get to a level where you can't take it. And if someone is transgressing against you, then to bring it to the imam or to mature brothers of the community to resolve the situation. The arbiter is always good to have. So, you don't let it go to a level where there are some things you can excuse and some things you can't. So, you keep in mind that. And try to get an arbiter or some other Muslims and say, well, this is my grievance, this is what he has done. Can somebody talk to this brother from that angle? And there's other ways of dealing with these issues if we look into the books that deal with adab and character and deal with issues of brotherhood. It's all types of ways, but we don't study this factor, and we act as if we don't hardly want to implement it. So we first have to have a zeal to want to implement these matters, and to study these matters, and to practice them. So, everyone knows their limits, so you try to get where you don't allow anything to get out of hand.
This has been an Insight audio recording. All rights to this recording are reserved by Insight Audio. Insight Audio has